Look, have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room and something changes? You can't explain it. They didn't say anything special. They didn't announce themselves, but suddenly you're aware of them. Your eyes keep going back to them. You feel something you can't quite name. And on the other side of that equation, there are people who try so hard, who say all the right things, who text back within seconds, who drop everything. And somehow, the more they try, the less attractive they become. It feels strange, but it's not magic. It's psychology. Today I'm going to show you exactly what's happening beneath the surface of attraction. The hidden psychological mechanisms that make someone irresistibly drawn to you even before you say a single word. 7 psychological tricks. 7 psychological truths about human attraction. Because once you understand how the human mind processes attraction, everything changes. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. Attraction is not random. It is not mysterious. It is not fate or chemistry or luck. Attraction is a pattern. It's a series of psychological responses hardwired into the human brain over thousands of years of evolution that get triggered when specific signals are present. Most people never learn what those signals are. So they go through life hopping to attract the right person, waiting, wishing, wondering why it never works out. But here's what psychology has discovered. Attraction follows rules. And once you know the rules, you stop leaving it to chance. Let's begin. The first idea is one of the most powerful forces in all of human psychology. It's called scarcity. And it doesn't just drive economics, it drives desire. Think about it. Why do people value diamonds? Not because they're more beautiful than other stones. There are gems that shine brighter. But diamonds have one thing that makes them irresistible. They are perceived as scarce. Now apply that same psychology to human attraction. When a person is always available, always there, always waiting, always ready to respond, something happens in the mind of the person they're attracted to. The brain stops registering them as rare, as valuable, as something worth pursuing, because here is a fundamental truth about the human mind. We don't desire what we can always have. We desire what we might lose. Robert Cialdini, one of the most important psychologists who ever studied influence, called this the scarcity principle. When something is less available, its perceived value goes up, not because it changed, but because our brain tells us it's more worth having. Here's the mistake most people make. When they're interested in someone, they make themselves fully available, instant replies, clearing their schedule, dropping everything, and they think this communicates love, care, commitment. No, here's what it actually communicates to the subconscious mind of the other person. I have nothing more important than you in my life. And that is not attractive. That is suffocating. Now, I'm not telling you to play games. I'm not telling you to ignore someone you care about. This is not manipulation. This is about having a life so full and so meaningful that you genuinely cannot be available every second. A life with goals, with growth, with your own energy and direction. When you become that person, someone who is building something, who has places to be, who doesn't revolve their world around any single relationship, something shifts. Suddenly, you become valuable, not because you pretended to be busy, but because you actually are. Think about it. The most attractive people you've ever known, did they seem like they were waiting for you? Or did they seem like they were moving forward with or without you, that forward motion? That sense of someone who doesn't need you but chooses to be with you. That is magnetic. Your absence isn't weakness. It's your secret superpower. Scarcity creates desire. Not scarcity of affection, but scarcity of access. Let them come toward you. Let them wonder what you're doing. Let them feel what life might be like without you. Before you even commit to being together, that feeling is the first psychological ingredient of instant attraction. Second, and this is something that happens every single day between people, but almost no one is aware of it, it's called mirroring. And it is one of the most powerful psychological phenomena in all of human social behavior. Here is what mirroring is. When two people feel connected, when there is genuine rapport and attraction, their bodies begin to unconsciously copy each other. The tilt of the head, the pace of speaking, the position of the arms, even the rhythm of breathing, it happens automatically, below the level of conscious awareness. And research has shown that when two people are mirroring each other, they feel closer, more connected, more attracted, But here's what's remarkable. This works in reverse too if you consciously and subtly begin to mirror someone's body language and speech patterns. Their brain starts to register you as someone they feel connected to, someone safe, someone familiar, someone attractive. Let me give you a real example. I once watched two people meet for the first time at a social gathering. One of them leaned forward. Within 20 seconds, so did the other. One crossed their arms loosely. The other followed. By the end of the evening, they were moving in almost perfect synchrony, and they described each other as instantly clicking. They didn't know they were doing it. Their brains were doing the work. Here's how you use mirroring consciously. Match their energy. If they speak slowly and thoughtfully, slow down. If they're excited and animated, let that energy into your voice too. Mirror their posture subtly. If they lean to one side, lean slightly in the same direction. Don't mimic robotically. 1 or 2 degrees of mirroring is all you need. Reflect their language. If they use certain words or phrases, let those words find their way back into your conversation. People unconsciously trust and feel connected to those who speak the way they do. Now, the critical detail that most people miss. There must be a delay. Do not mirror instantly. Copy the gesture or posture 5 to 10 seconds after they do. Immediate mirroring looks like mockery. Delayed mirroring looks like natural synchrony. The mirroring effect works because the human brain is a pattern recognition machine. When it detects that another person is moving in resonance with it, it interprets that as connection, as compatibility, and connection is one of the deepest roots of attraction. You are not creating a false impression. You are creating a true bridge between two minds, another truth. The third psychological trick is perhaps the most misunderstood, because when most people hear "be mysterious," they think it means be cold, be distant, give one-word answers, play hard to get. No. That's not mystery. That's just being unpleasant. True mystery is something different. True mystery is the art of always having more to give. Think about the most compelling people you've ever met. Were they the ones who told you everything about themselves in the first hour? Or were they the ones who seemed to have layers? Who gave you just enough to make you want to know more? The psychology here is called the Zeigarnik effect. Named after psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, it describes a powerful quirk of the human brain. We think about incomplete things far more than completed things when a story ends. We stop thinking about it when a story is left open. Our brain keeps returning to it, trying to resolve it. You become unforgettable when you are an open story in someone's mind. Here's how this works in attraction. Share your interests and values, but not all of them at once. Let them discover things about you gradually. Let each conversation reveal a new dimension. Ask more questions than you answer. Not because you're hiding something, but because you are genuinely curious about them. Paradoxically, the person who asks more questions becomes the more interesting person in the conversation. When you share a story, don't finish every thread. Leave something implied. Leave something for next time. Say, "I'll tell you the full story sometime. It's actually fascinating." Then move on. Their brain will not let go of that unfinished thread. They will think about it later. They will want to see you again to hear the rest. Think about it. What are the shows that everyone kept watching? Not the ones that answered every question. The ones that left you with more questions than answers. The ones that made you lean forward and say, "I need to know what happens next." Be that for someone, not because you have secrets, but because you are a person with depth. A person who cannot be summarized in a single evening. The mysterious person is not cold. They are warm, but they are deep. And their depth makes every interaction feel like the beginning of something more. Now the most important part. We're 4 tricks in, and I want to ask you something before we continue. The first 3, scarcity, mirroring, mystery, these are all things you do before you even truly connect with someone. The next ones are what happen inside the connection itself. And they are the ones most people completely get wrong. The 4th trick is something you can begin practicing the moment you finish watching this video. And it will change the way people perceive you, even before you speak. It's called confident stillness. And it is one of the most powerful non-verbal signals of attraction that psychology has ever documented. Here is the truth about body language most people don't know. Nervousness has a signature. It shows up in the body before it shows up in the face. Fidgeting. Shifting weight from foot to foot, playing with your phone, touching your face. looking around the room, moving too quickly, filling silence with unnecessary words. All of these signals communicate the same thing to the subconscious mind of the person watching. I am not at ease here. I am not confident. I am not sure of myself. And the brain of the person watching registers this without them being aware of it as low social value. Now contrast that with stillness, the person who stands with their feet planted, who doesn't fidget, who speaks slowly without rushing, who can hold eye contact comfortably, who can sit in silence without needing to fill it, who doesn't check their phone when they're with you. That person communicates something powerful to every room they enter. I'm exactly where I need to be. I am completely at ease with who I am. That is the most attractive energy a person can carry. I used to be the opposite of this. I used to talk too fast because I was afraid people wouldn't find me interesting. I used to move too quickly, gesture too much, laugh too soon at my own jokes, all because some part of me was trying to earn approval. And then I realized approval seeking is the opposite of attractive. The most magnetic people are not those who try hardest to be liked. They are those who seem least in need of your approval. Here's the practical version. Slow down your speech by 15%. When you speak slower, you sound more thoughtful, more authoritative, more like someone worth listening to. When you enter a space, don't rush to fill it. Take a breath. Let the room come to you. When there's a moment of silence, resist the urge to immediately fill it. Let the silence breathe. Comfortable silence is a sign of two things: confidence in yourself and genuine comfort with the other person. And when someone is talking to you, especially someone you're attracted to, put your phone in your pocket and leave it there. Give them your full, undivided, unhurried attention. Nothing communicates attraction and respect more than genuine presence, because in a world where everyone is distracted, the person who truly shows up is unforgettable. The fifth psychological trick is the one that creates the deepest form of attraction, not just surface-level attraction which fades, but the kind of deep, powerful pull that makes someone think about you days after you've met. The kind that makes them say, "There's just something about them that I can't explain. I can explain it." It's called emotional validation, and it is the deepest human need that almost nobody in the modern world knows how to give. Here is what most people do when they're attracted to someone. They talk. They perform. They share their achievements, their stories, their humor, their knowledge. They try to impress. And all of that communicates one thing: look at me. Notice me. Approve of me. Now here's what the psychology of connection actually shows. The deepest form of attraction is not created by impressing someone. It's created by making someone feel deeply understood. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you. Not just waited for you to finish talking so they could respond, but actually heard what you said, reflected it back to you, made you feel like your experience was real and valid. How did you feel about that person? If you're honest, you probably felt closer to them in that single conversation than you feel to people you've known for years. That is the power of emotional validation. Here's how to do it. When someone tells you something personal, resist the urge to immediately give advice, share a similar story, or change the subject. Instead, pause, reflect back the emotional truth of what they communicated. It sounds like that was really exhausting. That must have been a strange feeling, wanting something and being afraid of it at the same time. So you've been carrying this for a long time without anyone really getting it. These sentences do something extraordinary. They make the other person feel seen, truly seen, not judged, not advised, not fixed, just seen. And being seen, truly seen by another person, is one of the most powerful experiences the human brain can have. Psychologist Carl Rogers called this unconditional positive regard. He showed in his clinical research that simply feeling genuinely understood created more transformation in a person than any advice or strategy could. Now apply this to attraction. When you make someone feel seen, you become the person they most want to be around. Not because you're the most attractive in the room, but because you're the most attuned, the most present, the most real. Another thing most people ignore: emotional validation does not mean agreeing with everything someone says. It means acknowledging the feeling beneath the words. You can validate a feeling while disagreeing with a conclusion. That nuance, the ability to hear someone and disagree respectfully, is one of the rarest social skills in the world, and rare things are always valuable. The sixth psychological trick is about the environment around you, because here is something most people never consider. Attraction is not absolute. It's relative. What I mean is this. How attractive you appear to someone depends not just on who you are, but on who is around you. Psychologists call this the contrast effect. And it is a fundamental bias in human perception. Here's the simplest version. If you put your hand in ice-cold water and then in lukewarm water, the lukewarm water feels hot. It's not hot, but relative to the cold, it registers that way. The human brain works the same way with social judgments. Studies have shown that a person who is considered moderately attractive appears significantly more attractive when surrounded by people who are less attractive. The comparison changes the perception, without anything about the person actually changing. But here's the more important and less obvious version of this effect. What you say and how you behave creates contrast too. In a world where most conversations are shallow, whether work, complaints, the person who asks a real question, who engages with genuine depth, who laughs authentically instead of performatively, creates an immediate contrast. You don't need to be the most physically attractive person in the room. You need to be the most genuinely interesting person in the room. And genuinely interesting is not about being theatrical. It's not about having the best stories or the wittiest comebacks. Genuinely interesting is about being the person who seems most alive, most present, most themselves. Here's how to use the contrast effect intentionally. When everyone is nodding along to something, offer a thoughtful alternative view. Not to be contrarian, but because you actually think for yourself. Independent thinking is rare, and rare things attract attention. When the energy in a room is anxious or performative, bring calm. Your groundedness will make everyone around you look like they're trying too hard. When others are talking about surface things, ask a question that goes one layer deeper. What do you love about that? What made you choose that path? What's the part of that people usually miss? These questions create contrast. And contrast creates memory. Because here's the final truth about the contrast effect. People don't just remember who was there. They remember how someone made them feel. You become unforgettable not by being different from other people, but by being different from the version of themselves they usually encounter. When you make someone feel more intelligent, more interesting, more understood than they usually feel, they associate that feeling with you, and they will want to experience it again. And again, that association is attraction. The seventh and final psychological trick is perhaps the simplest. And perhaps the most powerful of all, eye contact. But not the way most people think about it. Most people are afraid of eye contact. They look away too quickly. They look at their phone. They look at the ground. Because sustained eye contact feels vulnerable. It feels like exposure, and here's the paradox. That vulnerability is exactly what makes it so powerful. When you hold someone's gaze, not in an aggressive or challenging way, but in a calm, warm, genuine way, something happens neurologically. The brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same hormone that creates connection between a mother and her newborn, between close friends, between lovers. A study by psychologist Arthur Aaron showed that when two strangers looked into each other's eyes for 4 minutes without looking away, they reported feeling significantly more connected and attracted to each other. Some reported falling in love, 4 minutes, just looking at each other, because the eyes communicate what words cannot. They communicate presence, sincerity, interest, the message that you are worth looking at. You are worth my full attention. I see you. Here's how to build this skill. When someone speaks to you, hold their gaze, not starring natural, warm eye contact that breaks briefly and returns. When you're attracted to someone, hold eye contact a beat longer than feels comfortable, just 1 or 2 seconds beyond the social norm. Then smile slightly, not a forced smile. The subtle, knowing smile of someone who is completely at ease, that extra second, that fractional pause before you look away, communicates enormous confidence. It says, I'm not afraid of you seeing me. And because most people are afraid of being seen, someone who isn't afraid becomes immediately, powerfully, inexplicably attractive. Another thing most people ignore. The direction of your gaze when someone is talking communicates whether you're genuinely listening or just waiting for your turn to speak. Looking at someone's eyes and mouth as they talk communicates deep engagement. Where your eyes go, is where your attention goes. And nothing communicates attraction like undivided attention. Think about the people who have made you feel most seen, most important. Were they looking at their phone when you spoke? Were they scanning the room? No. They were looking at you, and in that look, everything was communicated without a single word. 7 psychological tricks, but really, 7 psychological truths. Scarcity. Mirroring, mystery, stillness, validation, contrast, presence. None of these are about pretending to be someone you're not. None of these are manipulation. All of them are about becoming the fullest, most grounded, most present version of who you already are. Because here is the deepest truth about attraction that psychology has ever uncovered. The most attractive people are not those who try hardest to be loved. They are those who need it least but choose to give it most freely. They don't chase. They don't perform. They don't collapse their identity into another person's approval. They simply are fully, without apology. And that fullness, that completeness, is the most irresistible thing one human being can offer another. Because the strongest position in life is not needing someone, but choosing them.